The sound of ripping paper echoed through our kitchen, each tear feeling like a knife through my heart. I watched helplessly as my mother shredded my Harvard acceptance letter, her face twisted with a mixture of disgust and satisfaction. "Girls don't need education," she spat, letting the pieces flutter to the floor like confetti. "Your brother is the one who needs to focus on college. You need to learn how to be a proper wife." My name is Amanda Chen, and at 18, I watched my dreams get destroyed by the very people who should have supported them. I'd spent 4 years maintaining a perfect GPA, countless nights studying for the SATs, and endless hours on extracurricular activities, all while helping raise my younger siblings and managing our household because that's what girls are for. Dad stood in the doorway, arms crossed, nodding in approval at Mom's actions. "Listen to your mother, Amanda. This rebellious phase needs to end. Michael needs your help with his homework anyway. He's applying to colleges next year." Michael, my 16-year-old brother, was their pride and joy. Every achievement of his was celebrated, every dream encouraged. Meanwhile, my accomplishments were seen as distractions from my real purpose, being a future housewife. "But I got a full scholarship," I whispered, my voice trembling. "It wouldn't cost you anything." Mom's hand connected with my cheek before I could react. The sting was immediate, but the emotional pain cut deeper. "Ungrateful girl. Cost us nothing. What about the cost to your brother's future? Who will help him prepare for his exams? Who will cook and clean while I'm at work?" I touched my cheek, feeling the heat from her slap. 10 years of straight A's, president of the debate club, editor of the school newspaper, all reduced to nothing because I was born a girl in a family that saw education as a male privilege. That evening, I sat in my room, staring at my reflection in the small mirror above my desk. The red mark on my cheek had faded, but the weight of my parents' expectations felt heavier than ever. On my desk lay dozens of college brochures, carefully hidden in my calculus textbook. Harvard had been my dream, but I'd also been accepted to Yale, Princeton, and Stanford, all with scholarships. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Patterson, my guidance counselor. "Did you get the Harvard letter?" I couldn't bring myself to respond. Mrs. Patterson had been my biggest supporter, helping me secretly apply to colleges, writing recommendation letters, and believing in me when no one else did. She knew about my parents' views, but had encouraged me to try anyway. "Amanda," Mom's voice carried up the stairs. "Michael needs help with his chemistry homework." I quickly wiped away my tears and hid the other acceptance letters deeper in my textbook. As I headed downstairs, I caught a glimpse of the torn Harvard letter in the kitchen trash. Mom had made sure to pour coffee grounds over the pieces, a final act of destruction. Michael sat at the kitchen table, barely looking up from his phone as I approached. "I don't understand ionic bonds," he muttered, pushing his textbook toward me. I sat down beside him, forcing myself to focus on explaining concepts I'd mastered 2 years ago. Mom watched from the counter, a satisfied smile on her face as she prepared dinner. This was the future she wanted for me, eternally in service to my brother's success. "Good girl," she said, patting my head like I was a dog performing tricks. "This is where you belong, Amanda, not filling your head with foolish dreams of college." I nodded silently, but inside, something had shifted. As I watched Mom return to her cooking and Dad reading his newspaper in the living room, I made a decision. They could tear up my acceptance letter, but they couldn't tear up my determination. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I pulled out my laptop and composed an email to Mrs. Patterson. "Need your help. Parents destroyed Harvard letter. Please don't give up on me." Her response came within minutes. "Come see me first thing tomorrow. We'll figure this out." For the first time since watching my acceptance letter get destroyed, I felt a glimmer of hope. My parents might control the present, but they wouldn't control my future. Not anymore. The next morning, I left for school an hour early, telling Mom I had debate club preparations. She barely looked up from helping Michael with his breakfast. Her perfect son couldn't possibly be expected to pour his own cereal. Mrs. Patterson was already waiting in her office, her face etched with concern. "Show me everything," she said, closing the door behind me. I pulled out the remaining acceptance letters I'd managed to hide. "They'll destroy these too if they find them," I said, spreading the letters across her desk. Yale, Princeton, Stanford, each one offering a full scholarship, each one a potential escape route. "Amanda," Mrs. Patterson leaned forward, her voice low and urgent. What your parents are doing isn't just wrong, it's abuse. Educational suppression is a form of control. I'd never thought of it that way. In our traditional household, it was just the way things are. Girls serve, boys succeed. Simple as that. I have a plan, Mrs. Patterson continued, but you'll need to be brave. She pulled out a folder from her desk. I've contacted Harvard's admissions office. They're willing to send all future correspondence through me. We can secure your spot without your parents knowing. My heart raced. But how would I pay for books? Housing? Mom checks all my bank statements. Remember that summer job you had at the library? She smiled. The one your parents approved of because it meant you could help Michael with research? Well, the head librarian and I have been saving your paychecks in a separate account. You have enough for your first semester's expenses. Tears welled up in my eyes. While I've been feeling alone and trapped, these women have been creating an escape route for me. But then reality hit. Mom will never let me leave. She'll lock me up if she has to. That's why we need to be strategic, Mrs. Patterson said, pulling out a calendar. Orientation starts August 15th. Your brother has that big soccer tournament the weekend before, right? I nodded, beginning to understand. Your parents will be gone all weekend for his tournament. That's your window. Over the next hour, we planned everything. Mrs. Patterson would help me secretly pack and store my essential belongings in her garage. I'd gradually bring things to school, a little at a time, so nothing would look suspicious at home. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. Each day, I played my role perfectly, helping Michael with homework, cooking dinner, being the dutiful daughter. Mom seemed pleased with my acceptance of my place. See? She said one evening while I was washing dishes. You finally stopped this college nonsense. A daughter should know her place. I smiled weakly, thinking of the acceptance confirmation letter hidden in Mrs. Patterson's office. But my careful planning hit a snag 2 weeks before my planned escape. While cleaning my room, Mom found a Harvard brochure I'd forgotten about, tucked between my mattress and bed frame. What is this? She screamed, waving the brochure to my face. Still holding on to these ridiculous dreams? Dad came running at her shouts. When he saw the brochure, his face darkened. I thought we dealt with this, he growled. It's old, I lied quickly. I just forgot to throw it away. Mom wasn't convinced. You're grounded until further notice. No school activities, no library, just home and school. We clearly can't trust you. My heart sank. The grounding threatened to destroy everything Mrs. Patterson and I had planned. How could I finish preparing for Harvard if I couldn't leave the house? That night, I sent a desperate text to Mrs. Patterson. They found a brochure. I'm grounded. Everything's ruined. Her response gave me hope. Nothing's ruined. We adapt. We overcome. The next day at school, she showed me the revised plan. Instead of gradually moving my things, we'd have to do everything in one night. The night before Michael's soccer tournament. It was riskier, but it was my only chance. Are you sure you want to do this? Mrs. Patterson asked, seeing the fear in my eyes. I thought about my mother's words. Girls don't need education. I thought about my brother's entitled attitude, the way my parents poured everything into his future while destroying mine. I've never been more sure of anything, I replied, my voice stronger than I felt. The night before Michael's soccer tournament arrived faster than I expected. I lay in bed, fully dressed, listening to my family's preparations for their weekend trip. Mom's voice carried up the stairs, listing all the things Michael needed for his big day. Are you sure you'll be okay alone? Mom asked, poking her head into my room. Not out of concern for me, but worried her house wouldn't be properly maintained in her absence. I'll be fine, I said quietly. Good luck at the tournament, Michael. The moment their car disappeared down the street, I sprang into action. Mrs. Patterson's car was waiting 2 blocks away, just as planned. Within minutes, we were loading the few boxes I'd managed to secretly pack into her trunk. Your parents will be back Sunday evening, she said as we drove to her house where the rest of my things were stored. By then, you'll be settled in your dorm at Harvard. Everything was perfectly orchestrated. Mrs. Patterson had arranged for an early check-in at the dorms. A friend of hers would drive me to Cambridge first thing in the morning. All my documents, including my birth certificate which I'd slowly gathered over the past months, were safely in my backpack. But life has a way of throwing curveballs. As we finished loading the last box from Mrs. Patterson's garage, my phone lit up with Mom's face. My hands shook as I declined the call. Then came the text. Michael's tournament was canceled due to weather. We're coming home. Answer your phone. Amanda, where are you? Mrs. Patterson saw the panic on my face. We need to leave now, she said firmly. Your flight's in 3 hours. This is your only chance. The drive to the airport was the longest 30 minutes of my life. My phone kept buzzing with increasingly angry messages from my parents. Then came the final text from Mom. If you're doing what I think you're doing, don't bother coming back. At the airport, Mrs. Patterson hugged me tightly. Your parents might not be proud of you, she whispered, but I am. Go show the world what you're capable of. 10 years later, I stood in front of a packed auditorium at Harvard Medical School, delivering the commencement speech as the youngest female department head in the school's history. The irony wasn't lost on me. The girl who didn't need education was now Dr. Amanda Wilson, pioneering researcher and educator. My speech was being broadcast live on several networks. I knew my parents would be watching. They always watched my TV appearances now, telling their friends how they'd always supported my dreams. Education isn't just about books and degrees, I said into the microphone, my voice steady. It's about breaking free from limitations others place on you. 10 years ago, I was told that girls don't need education. Today, I'm telling every girl out there, your mind is your most powerful asset. Don't let anyone take that from you. The applause was deafening, but I wasn't finished. And to the parents in the audience, your daughter's dreams aren't a threat to your son's success. They're not a disruption to your plans. They're a promise of something extraordinary. After the ceremony, my assistant handed me a note. My parents were waiting outside the auditorium. For the first time in 10 years, I was going to face them, not as their obedient daughter, but as Dr. Wilson, the woman who proved them wrong. Mom was crying. Dad looked uncomfortable. We're so sorry, Mom started, but I held up my hand. Save it, I said calmly. I didn't succeed because of you or in spite of you. I succeeded because I chose to believe in myself when you wouldn't. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mom, girls don't just need education. They deserve it, every bit as much as their brothers do. Walking away from them felt different this time. 10 years ago, I'd left in secret, scared and uncertain. Now, I walked away with my head held high, my heels clicking against the marble floor, knowing that somewhere a young girl might be watching this broadcast, finding the courage to fight for her own dreams. Mrs. Patterson, now retired, still has my Harvard acceptance letter, the second one they sent through her. It hangs framed in her home office, a reminder that sometimes the biggest act of love is helping someone break free. Hey there, I'm Sandra, 28 years old, and up until recently, I thought I had life all figured out. I manage a high-end electronics store downtown, and I was living what I thought was my best life with my husband, Michael, in our cozy apartment. But then, well, let me tell you how it all went south. It started when Michael's older brother, William, lost his job. Michael, being the soft-hearted guy he is, suggested William stay with us just for a few weeks. I wasn't thrilled, but I tried to be supportive. I mean, family scambling, right? It'll only be a little while, Michael said, giving me those puppy dog eyes. He just needs to get back on his feet. I sighed, already feeling a bit uneasy. Fine, but he needs to pull his weight around here. Fast forward a month and William was still camped out on our couch, making zero effort to find a job. Our apartment felt smaller by the day, and the tension, well, you could cut it with a knife. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, I tripped over one of William's discarded pizza boxes. For crying out loud, William, I muttered. Michael poked his head out of the bathroom, toothbrush in hand. What's wrong, babe? I gestured at the mess. Does this look okay to you? Your brothers turned our living room into a landfill. Michael looked uncomfortable, shrugging. He's going through a rough patch. We just need to be patient. Patient. I was about to lose it, but I bit my tongue and headed to work, grateful for the escape. At the store, my boss Angela noticed my mood. You look like you could use a coffee, Sandra. Everything all right? I forced a smile. Just some family stuff, nothing I can't handle. My colleague Jason chimed in. Family drama. Do tell. I laughed, appreciating the distraction. Maybe later. Let's focus on those new product launches, yeah? As I was setting up a display, Mr. Oliver, our stern HR manager, approached me. Sandra, a moment. My heart skipped a beat. Did I do something wrong? No need to look so worried, he said, noticing my expression. I just wanted to remind you about our employee discount policy. It's a valuable benefit, but remember it's strictly for personal use only. I nodded, relieved. Absolutely, Mr. Oliver. I always play by the rules. Later that night, I met my best friend Lisa for drinks. I desperately needed to vent. Lisa, I'm at my wit's end. William's been with us for a month, and all he's done is raid our fridge and leave a trail of mess everywhere. Lisa frowned. That's not right. Have you talked to Michael about it? I nodded, frustrated. He just keeps making excuses for William. I don't know how much longer I can take this. You need to put your foot down, Lisa advised. It's your home too, you know. I knew she was right, but the thought of confronting Michael and William made my stomach churn. As I headed home, I braced myself for another evening of tension and dirty dishes. Little did I know, this was just the tip of the iceberg. The next Monday at work, I decided to check my employee account. Something didn't feel right, and when I opened the recent purchases, my heart nearly stopped. A 75-inch TV, 3 high-end gaming laptops, all charged to my employee discount. I felt sick to my stomach as I scrolled through the purchases, seeing a shipping address I'd never heard of. There was only one explanation. William. He must have somehow gotten hold of my discount code. That evening, I confronted him in our living room. Care to explain these? I shoved the printout of purchases in his face. William barely looked up from his phone. Oh yeah, thanks for letting me use your discount. Got some sweet deals. Letting you? I never said you could use my employee discount. I was practically shouting now. He rolled his eyes. Chill out, Sandra. You said I could use it that one time, remember? It's not a big deal. Not a big deal? This could cost me my job. Michael walked in, looking concerned. What's going on? I turned to him, hoping for support. Your brother's been using my employee discount without permission. He's jeopardizing my job. To my disbelief, Michael frowned at me. Come on, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. William wouldn't do that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you kidding me? You're taking his side. I'm not taking sides, Michael said, but his tone said otherwise. Maybe you did tell him he could use it and forgot. I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd never forget something as serious as giving out my discount code. This was my career on the line. The argument went on for hours, with William playing the victim and Michael defending him. That night, I went to bed feeling utterly alone in my own home. The next day at work, my worst fear came true. Mr. Oliver called me into his office, his expression grave. Sandra, we've noticed some unusual activity on your employee account. Care to explain? My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear myself speak. Mr. Oliver, I can explain. It wasn't me, it was. He held up a hand, cutting me off. We take these matters very seriously, Sandra. There will be a full investigation. Until then, I suggest you refrain from using your discount privileges. I nodded, feeling numb as I left his office. Angela, my boss, pulled me aside. Sandra, what's going on? I overheard your conversation with Mr. Oliver. I broke down and told her everything. Her face grew more concerned with every word. Oh, Sandra, she said softly, you need to understand how serious this is. If the investigation doesn't go in your favor, you could be terminated. The company might even pursue legal action for fraud. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I could lose my job, my career, everything I'd worked so hard for, all because of William's selfishness and Michael's blind loyalty. I felt completely trapped. My home life was in shambles. My marriage was on the rocks, and now my job was hanging by a thread. How had everything gone so wrong so fast? And more importantly, how was I going to fix this mess? The next day at work, I pulled Jason aside during lunch. Jason, I need your help. You're good with computers, right? He nodded, looking intrigued. What's up? I took a deep breath and spilled everything. To his credit, Jason listened without interrupting, his eyes widening as I explained. Damn, that's messed up. Of course, I'll help. Let's do some digging. Over the next few days, Jason and I worked tirelessly, scouring online marketplaces and tracing the items purchased with my discount. It didn't take long to find William's reselling accounts. Look at this, Jason said, pointing at his screen. These accounts go back years. Your brother-in-law has been running scams like this for a while. I felt a mixture of vindication and disgust. That snake. I bet he's done this to other people too. But I need more concrete evidence. That night, I set my phone to record and confronted William again. William, I know you used my employee discount without permission. I want you to admit it. He scoffed, unaware he was being recorded. Whatever, Sandra. Yeah, I used your discount. So what? It's not like you were using it. You had no right to do that. You've put my job at risk. Not my problem, he sneered. Maybe you should have thought about that before you gave me the code. I never gave you the code. You stole it, I replied, furious. William just shrugged and walked away. I stopped the recording, my hands shaking with anger. The next day, while William was out, I searched his room. In his email, I found messages to Michael, painting me as the bad guy and manipulating him into taking his side. I forwarded them to myself, feeling sick but determined. That evening, I called Lisa. I can't stay here anymore. Can I crash at your place for a while? Of course, honey. Come over right now. I'll help you pack. As we loaded my suitcase into Lisa's car, Michael came home. Sandra, what's going on? Where are you going? I couldn't even look at him. I'm staying with Lisa for a while. I need some space to think. He tried to speak, but I cut him off. No, Michael. You chose your side, now I'm choosing mine. At Lisa's apartment, I finally felt like I could breathe. She hugged me tightly. You're doing the right thing. Have you thought about legal action? I nodded. I have a friend from college who is a lawyer. I'm meeting her tomorrow. The next day, I met with Sarah, my lawyer friend. She listened carefully to my story and examined the evidence I gathered. Sandra, you've got a strong case here, not just against William, but potentially against the company if they try to terminate you unfairly. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. So what should I do? Keep gathering evidence. Don't confront William or Michael again. And stay professional at work. Buy time if you can, but don't do anything that could be seen as obstructing their investigation. Back at work, the atmosphere was tense. Mr. Oliver called me in for another meeting. Sandra, our investigation is ongoing. We're going to need to see your personal financial records. I took a deep breath, remembering Sarah's advice. I understand, Mr. Oliver. I'm fully cooperating with the investigation, but I'd like to request a few days to get those records in order. Is that all right? He nodded, slightly surprised by my calm demeanor. Of course. Please have them ready by Friday. As I left his office, I saw Angela watching me with concern. I gave her a small, determined smile. I was walking a tightrope, but I wasn't going to fall. Not this time. William had messed with the wrong person, and I was going to make sure he faced the consequences. Friday morning, I walked into Mr. Oliver's office with my head held high and a folder full of evidence. Angela was there too, looking nervous but supportive. Mr. Oliver, Angela, before we proceed with the investigation, there's something you need to see. I laid out everything. The recordings, the emails, the online reselling accounts. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to shock as they sifted through the evidence. Sandra, this is quite something, Mr. Oliver said, his usual stern demeanor softened. Why didn't you come to us earlier? I needed to be sure. I couldn't risk my career on suspicions alone. Angela spoke up. This clears you completely, Sandra, but it also means we have a serious case of fraud on our hands. Mr. Oliver nodded gravely. Indeed. We'll be pursuing legal action against William. Sandra, your handling of this situation has been exemplary. Relief washed over me, but I knew this was just the beginning. That evening, I met Michael at a coffee shop. His face was a mix of confusion and worry. Sandra, what's going on? Why did you want to meet here? Without a word, I slid the folder of evidence across the table. Michael's face fell as he read through William's manipulative emails. I don't know what to say, Sandra. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. Part of me wanted to forgive him on the spot, but the hurt was still too raw. You should have, Michael. I'm your wife. I needed you to trust me, and you didn't. Can we fix this? Us? I sighed. I don't know, Michael. I need time. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The company pressed charges against William for fraud. As news spread, his online reselling accounts were shut down, and he was banned from major platforms. Then, something unexpected happened. An old acquaintance of William's saw his arrest in the news and came forward with evidence of a past scam. William was hit with additional charges. I watched from afar as his carefully constructed house of cards came crashing down. Part of me felt sorry for him, but a bigger part felt vindicated. At work, things took a surprising turn. Mr. Oliver called me into his office again. but this time with good news. Sandra, in light of recent events and your exceptional handling of a difficult situation, we'd like to offer you a promotion. How does regional manager sound? I was speechless. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. I'd be honored. As I settled into my new role and my new apartment, I reflected on everything that had happened. The betrayal, the struggle, the vindication. It had all taught me valuable lessons of self-respect and setting boundaries, even with family. Michael and I were talking again, slowly rebuilding trust. Whether we fully reconcile, only time would tell, but I knew one thing for sure. I was stronger now, more successful, and free from toxic influences. Looking out the window of my new office, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The road had been tough, but I'd come out on top. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew I was ready to face them head-on. Hey everyone, I'm Amanda. 3 years ago, I was living my dream as a physical therapist at the premier rehabilitation center in downtown Chicago. My career was flourishing, and my marriage to Matthew Turner, a charming real estate agent, felt like a fairy tale. But fairy tales, as I soon learned, can turn into nightmares. Amanda, you're amazing with the patience, my colleague said one morning as I helped Mr. Rodriguez regain his walking strength. Thanks, I replied, smiling. I love seeing their progress. Little did I know that my own life would soon need rehabilitation. That evening, as I prepared dinner in our modern apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, Matthew dropped another financial bomb. Babe, Mom needs help with some family investments again this month, he said casually. I froze, knife hovering over the cutting board. Matthew, that's the 3rd time this month. What happened to last week's transfer? His charming facade cracked. Don't question my mother's decisions, he snapped. She knows what's best for our future. My brother Mark had warned me about Matthew's controlling behavior. Sis, something's not adding up with their finances, he'd said during our weekly coffee meetup. But I defended Matthew, convinced that love could conquer all. The real wake-up call came when Henry Chen, Matthew's business partner, caught me in the office parking lot. Amanda, we need to talk, he whispered, glancing around nervously. I've noticed some irregularities in Matthew's client accounts. My best friend Mary noticed my distress over lunch. Amanda, you've lost weight. What's really going on? She pressed. Patricia keeps demanding more money every month, I confided. She calls it family support, but won't show any investment returns. That's financial abuse, Mary said firmly. Have you checked your joint accounts lately? I hadn't, but her words sparked something in me. That night, I logged into our banking app, and the truth hit me like a tidal wave. Thousands were missing, transferred to unknown accounts. When I confronted Matthew, his eyes turned cold. You're being ungrateful, he hissed. After everything my mother's done for us? Little did I know, this was only the beginning. The incident on the highway was coming, the night that would change everything. But for now, watching Matthew storm out of our apartment, I felt the first stirrings of strength. Something wasn't right, and I was determined to find out what. Henry's warning echoed in my mind. Amanda, be careful. They're not who you think they are. The next morning, I sat in my office at the rehabilitation center, staring at my phone banking app in disbelief. Another $5,000 had vanished from our joint account overnight. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the transaction history, dozens of transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Amanda, dear, Patricia's shrill voice startled me through the phone. We need another $110,000 for a promising investment opportunity. Patricia, I need to understand where the previous money went first, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Are you questioning my judgment after everything I've done for this family? Her tone turned icy. Matthew won't be happy about this. That evening, Henry showed up at my office after hours. He closed the door quietly behind him. Amanda, I found something disturbing, he said, his face pale. Matthew has been showing the same property to multiple buyers, collecting deposits from all of them. What are you saying? He's running a scam. And those investments your mother-in-law keeps demanding? They're not real. I've seen the paperwork. I began secretly photographing bank statements and saving incriminating emails. Mark helped me set up hidden cameras in my home office. The footage revealed Matthew sneaking in late at night, rifling through my personal documents. One evening, driving back from visiting my parents, Matthew suddenly pulled over on a deserted highway. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the empty road. You've been talking to Henry, haven't you? His voice was dangerously quiet. I have a right to know where our money is going. Get out, he snarled, grabbing my arm. Matthew, we're miles from anywhere. I said get out. He shoved me out of the car, threw my purse after me, and sped away, leaving me stranded in the growing darkness. Coyotes howled in the distance as the temperature plummeted, and my phone had no signal. Just as panic began to set in, headlights appeared on the horizon. My heart raced until I recognized Mary's car. She jumped out, running toward me. Amanda, thank goodness, Henry called me. He overheard Matthew's plans at the office. Back at Mary's house, I discovered even more shocking news. My credit cards were maxed out with charges I never made. Matthew had opened accounts in my name. Look at this, Mary pointed to her laptop screen. Multiple complaints against Matthew's real estate dealings flooded a legal forum. Elderly couples had lost their life savings. There's more, Henry texted me later that night. I found documents linking Patricia to properties registered under different names. That night, instead of feeling defeated, something inside me hardened into steel. They thought they could break me, but they had no idea who they were dealing with. I grabbed my phone and dialed a number that would change everything. Mark, remember that private investigator friend of yours? I need their help. It's time to show Matthew and Patricia what happens when you mess with the wrong woman. The pieces were falling into place, but I had no idea that what I discovered was just the tip of the iceberg. The real shock was still to come, a revelation that would shake our entire community to its core. A week later, the private investigator's report landed on my desk with a heavy thud. My hands shook as I flipped through page after page of evidence. Matthew and Patricia hadn't just scammed me. They'd orchestrated a massive real estate fraud scheme targeting vulnerable people across 3 states. Amanda, you need to see this, Mark said, pulling up security footage on his laptop. The video showed Matthew and Patricia at Golden Sunset Retirement Community, sweet-talking elderly residents into investing their life savings in non-existent properties. My phone buzzed. A text from Pamela, Matthew's sister. We need to talk. Not here. Meet me at the Bluebird Cafe in 20 minutes. At the cafe, Pamela's face was pale. Amanda, it's worse than you think. Mom's been using your salary to cover her casino losses. She owes dangerous people a lot of money. Just then, Henry rushed in, clutching a manila envelope. I found these in the office safe, fake property deeds, forged signatures, multiple sales of the same properties. They've been doing this for years. As if on cue, my phone rang. It was Matthew. Baby, I've been thinking. Let's work this out. I miss you. Can we meet to talk about our joint account? You mean the account you drained? I kept him talking while Mark recorded the call. That was a misunderstanding, he stammered. I can explain everything. But my focus shifted when a familiar voice caught my attention from the next booth. Yes, Mrs. Turner promised us oceanfront property in Arizona. We invested our entire retirement fund, cried Karen Martinez, a former patient of mine. My blood ran cold. They were targeting my own patients. Back at Mark's place, we spread out all the evidence, property documents, bank statements, victim testimonies. Henry had uncovered a network of fake companies, all leading back to Matthew and Patricia. Look at this, Mary pointed to her computer screen. They're still collecting deposits for that Highland Park development. The land doesn't even exist. Suddenly, my phone exploded with notifications. Matthew had tried to access my new private account 6 times in the last hour. Then, a text from Pamela. They know you're gathering evidence. Be careful. Mom's talking about fleeing the country. The doorbell rang, and we all froze. Through the security camera, we saw Karen Martinez and 5 other victims standing on the porch, holding papers. We saw your name on some documents, Karen said when we let them in. We want to help expose them. I looked around at the determined faces, my brother, my best friend, Henry, Pamela, and now these brave victims. Matthew and Patricia thought they were untouchable, but they'd never faced a united front like this. My phone buzzed again. An email from the State Real Estate Board. They wanted to meet tomorrow. Ready? Mark asked, gathering the evidence files. I straightened my spine. They picked the wrong woman to scam. The Real Estate Board meeting turned into a full-blown investigation. I watched from the back row as Karen Martinez testified, her voice strong despite her tears. The Turners took everything we had saved for 40 years. Matthew burst through the doors, desperation etched on his face. "Amanda, please, we can work this out privately." "There's nothing to work out, Matthew. The evidence speaks for itself." Henry stepped forward, laying out document after document, multiple sales of non-existent properties, forged signatures, fake investment schemes. Pamela stood up, trembling but resolute. "I have to tell the truth. Mom and Matthew have done this before in other states. They just changed their company names and moved on." The board's decision was unanimous. Matthew's license was permanently revoked, but that was just the beginning. The local news broke the story. Prominent real estate agent and mother in massive fraud scheme. The phones started ringing. More victims came forward. More evidence piled up. Matthew made one last desperate move, showing up at my new apartment. "I've changed, Amanda. I'll pay everything back. Just drop the charges." "Like you paid back the elderly couples you robbed? The families whose homes you stole? Save it for the judge, Matthew." 3 months later, I stood in front of my new rehabilitation center. The sign read Phoenix Recovery, where healing begins. Mary and Mark stood beside me, beaming with pride. The news coverage continued. Matthew and Patricia faced multiple fraud charges, their assets frozen. The fancy house, the luxury cars, all gone. They couldn't even afford decent lawyers. Pamela visited me at the center one day. "They're completely broke," she said. "Mom's facing years in prison, and Matthew? He's working at a fast food joint, trying to pay back his debts. And you?" I asked, smiling. "Starting fresh, helping other fraud victims rebuild their lives, just like you." They thought they could destroy me, but instead, I rose from the ashes stronger than ever, and now I'm helping others do the same. My center flourished, transforming into a haven for survivors of both physical and financial trauma. Mary managed our outreach program, bringing in new patients and spreading hope, while Mark headed up our legal support services, helping countless fraud victims reclaim their lives. 1 year later, I stood at my office window, watching as Matthew shuffled past in his fast food uniform. He looked old, defeated, a shell of the man who once manipulated and betrayed me. Patricia was serving her sentence, her reputation in tatters while their empire crumbled to dust. "Miss Mitchell," my assistant poked her head in. "The governor's office called. They want you to head the new fraud prevention task force." I smiled, my fingers brushing against the plaque on my wall. "Phoenix Recovery, rising stronger." That's exactly what I did. I rose from their ashes and built something beautiful. The center was packed for our first anniversary celebration. Former patients shared their recovery stories, each tale a testament to resilience and healing. Karen Martinez, the woman who once lost everything to Matthew's schemes, walked across the stage unassisted to thunderous applause. "You did it, Amanda," Mary whispered, pulling me into a tight hug. "You turned their evil into something good." I looked out at the crowd, my brother, my best friend, my patients, my dedicated staff. I felt nothing but peace. Matthew and Patricia thought they could break me, but instead, they made me unbreakable. And that's my story. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best transformations. You just have to stay strong, gather your evidence, and never let toxic people dim your light. If you're facing toxic relationships or financial abuse, don't suffer in silence. There's always a way out, and karma has a way of catching up with those who wrong you. Today, Phoenix Recovery has 3 locations across the state. We've helped hundreds rebuild their lives, both physically and emotionally. Our legal support program, led by Mark, has brought justice to countless fraud victims. Just last week, I received a letter from Patricia, begging for forgiveness from prison. I didn't open it. Some bridges are better left burned. Matthew? He's still working at that fast food place, living in a tiny studio apartment. Occasionally, he watches my success from afar, but he knows better than to approach. As for Pamela, she's become a powerful advocate for fraud prevention, sharing our story at conferences nationwide. Have you ever faced someone who tried to destroy you, only to find their actions led you to a better life? What was your turning point from being a victim to becoming a victor? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else find their strength. Think about it. Would Amanda have built her successful rehabilitation centers if Matthew and Patricia hadn't pushed her to her breaking point? Sometimes, our greatest achievements rise from our darkest moments. Hi, I'm Linda, 28 years old, working as an accountant at Bright Ideas. It's not a terrible job, but my coworkers? They're something else. Every morning, I pack my lunch into my trusty beat-up lunchbox. Still brown bagging it, Linda? Jennifer sneers, strutting by in her designer heels. James can't resist chiming in either. Ever heard of Uber? He teases as he catches me waiting at the bus stop. Oh right, probably not in your budget. I grit my teeth, refusing to let their comments get to me. If only they knew why I save every penny. My little sister Pamela has been sick for years. Her treatments are expensive, and with our parents out of the picture, it's all on me. So yeah, I bring lunch from home, take the bus, and shop at thrift stores. Sue me. One afternoon, Lisa, with her fake smile plastered on, asks, Linda, we're all going out for drinks after work. Want to join? Oh wait, maybe that's not in your budget. I force a smile. Thanks, but I've got plans. My plans usually involve heading straight home to Pamela. She needs help with her meds, and honestly, I'd rather be with her than deal with these jerks. Tyler, the new guy in accounting, is the only one who treats me decently. After a particularly nasty comment from Jennifer about my clearance rack outfit, he leans in and whispers, "Don't let them get to you." I nod, grateful for his kindness. But I can't tell him or anyone else about Pamela and the experimental treatment I'm saving up for. That's my business. Later that week, I'm heating up my sad little microwave meal when Jennifer saunters into the break room with her entourage. Oh my God, did you see what Linda's wearing today? She stage whispers. I swear it's the same blouse from last month. Maybe she's going for a world record. James laughs, but I tune them out. I have bigger things to worry about than their petty comments. At home that evening, Pamela notices I'm quieter than usual. Rough day at the office? She asks, wincing as she stretches on the couch. I paste on a smile. Nothing I can't handle. How about we watch that new show you've been talking about? As we curl up on the couch, I remind myself why I endure the snide remarks and the isolation at work. One day, we'll have enough saved for that treatment. One day, Pamela will be better. And on that day, I'll walk into that office with my head held high, knowing every brown bag lunch and thrift store outfit was worth it. The office is decked out in tinsel and cheap decorations for our annual Christmas party. I'm already on edge, having spent the morning helping Pamela through a painful flare-up. Linda, you made it. Jennifer's voice drips with fake enthusiasm. Love the festive sweater, Goodwill's finest. I tug at my worn red sweater and force a smile. Thanks for noticing. All right, everyone. Jennifer claps her hands. Time for Secret Santa. I've forgotten all about it in the chaos of Pamela's recent hospital stay. Who's got Linda? Jennifer sing-songs. James steps forward with a smirk. That'd be me. He thrusts a box into my hands. I unwrap it slowly, aware of everyone watching. Inside is a brand new designer wallet. Thought you could use something to put all that money you're saving in. James laughs, and the room erupts in snickers. My face burns with embarrassment, but I keep my head down. Lisa interjects, pretending to be the voice of reason. Oh, come on, James, I'm sure Linda put a lot of thought into it. Later, I overhear them whispering in the corner. So Cancun in February? Jennifer gushes. Found this amazing all-inclusive resort. Sounds perfect. Lisa agrees. Just don't tell you know who. Can you imagine Linda on a beach? She'd probably bring bagged lunches to save money. Their laughter cuts through me like a knife. I turn to leave and nearly collide with Tyler. You okay? He asks, concern etched on his face. I nod, barely holding it together. I'm fine. I manage, then rush for the exit. At home, I find Pamela looking pale on the couch. How was the party? She asks weakly. I force a smile. Oh, you know, office parties. Did you hear back about that new treatment? My heart clenches. Not yet, but don't worry. We'll figure it out. As I tuck Pamela into bed that night, I make a decision. I can't keep this up, the constant judgment, the isolation. It's wearing me down. The next morning, I catch Tyler before our first meeting. Can we talk? I ask hesitantly. He nods, leading me to a quiet corner. Taking a deep breath, I spill everything. Pamela's condition, the experimental treatment, why I pinch every penny. Tyler listened without interrupting, his eyes widening with each detail I revealed. When I finished, he shook his head in disbelief. Linda, I had no idea, he said softly. What you're doing for your sister, it's incredible. For the first time in months, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Someone finally knew. Someone understood. Thanks for listening, I said, managing a genuine smile. As we walked back to our desks, I overheard James and Jennifer snickering about my dollar store phone case. But this time, I held my head high. Let them laugh. They had no idea what real strength looked like. That evening, my heart nearly stopped when I got a call from the neighbor. Pamela had collapsed. I rushed her to the ER, panic tightening my chest. For 3 days, I barely left her side as the doctors ran test after test. On the 4th day, exhausted and sleep-deprived, I called the office. I need some time off, I told my manager. Family emergency. When I finally returned to work a week later, the atmosphere had shifted. Whispers followed me down the hallway, and I caught furtive glances from my colleagues. Jennifer and Lisa huddled by the water cooler, shooting me looks that felt like daggers. As I passed the break room, I heard James's voice. I'm telling you, she's on her way out, probably embezzlement or something. Why else would she be so obsessed with money? My blood ran cold. What the hell had they been saying about me while I was gone? Lisa approached my desk, her face a mask of fox concern. Linda, honey, we've all been so worried. Is everything okay? We heard some things. What things? I asked warily. Oh, she hedged. Just that you might be in some trouble. Financial issues, maybe, or personal problems. I gritted my teeth. Everything's fine, Lisa. Thanks for your concern. As she walked away, I saw her whisper something to Jennifer, and they both burst into laughter. Tyler was the only one who treated me the same. He stopped by my desk, a concerned look in his eyes. You okay? You seem stressed. I forced a weak smile. I'm fine, just a lot going on. He hesitated. Listen, I've been hearing some pretty wild rumors. Is there anything I can do to help? Before I could answer, James's booming voice cut through the office. Well, look who finally decided to grace us with her presence. Feeling lazy, Linda? Something in me snapped. All the stress, the worry about Pamela, the constant judgment, it all came pouring out. Lazy? I shot back, my voice shaking with fury. You want to talk about lazy, James? How about spending your days gossiping and bullying instead of actually doing your job? The office went dead silent. James's face turned a furious shade of red. How dare you? He began, but I cut him off. No, how dare you? You have no idea what I've been dealing with. None of you do. You sit here in your little bubble, judging me for being cheap or stingy, when you don't know the first thing about my life. Oh, please, Jennifer sneered. We all know you're just a tightwad. My sister is dying. I shouted, tears streaming down my face. She's dying, and I've been killing myself trying to save money for an experimental treatment that might save her life. So yes, I bring my lunch, I take the bus. I shop at thrift stores because every single penny counts when someone you love is suffering. The silence that followed was deafening. James's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Jennifer looked like she'd been slapped, and Lisa had gone pale. Tyler stepped forward, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. I think we all owe Linda an apology, he said firmly. And maybe it's time we had a serious discussion about the toxic culture in this office. As I stood there, shaking with a mix of anger and relief, I realized something had fundamentally changed. The facade had crumbled, and for better or worse, the truth was finally out. Taking a deep breath, I squared my shoulders. I'm going to take the rest of the day off, I announced. And when I come back tomorrow, I expect things to be different. If not, I'll be speaking to HR. With that, I grabbed my bag and walked out, leaving a stunned office in my wake. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. I walked into the conference room, my stomach in knots. Every employee was there, along with our CEO, Mr. Daniels. Thank you all for coming, Mr. Daniels began, his voice stern. It's come to our attention that there are some serious issues with our workplace culture that need to be addressed. I took a deep breath and stood up. If I may, I'd like to share something. All eyes turned to me. Jennifer and James exchanged nervous glances. For the past 2 years, I've been saving every penny I can to help my sister Pamela. She has a rare condition, and there's an experimental treatment that could save her life. That's why I've been so frugal. The room went silent. I've endured constant mockery and bullying because of my choices. I continued, my voice steady. But it stops now. Mr. Daniels looked furious. This is unacceptable. We're implementing a zero-tolerance policy for workplace bullying, effective immediately. James stood up, his face turning red. Come on, it was just a bit of fun. Mr. Stevens, you're suspended pending an investigation. Mr. Daniels cut him off sharply. As the meeting ended, Jennifer and Lisa approached me. Linda, we had no idea, Lisa stammered. We're so sorry. I held up a hand. Save it. Your apologies mean nothing to me. 6 months later, I sat in the hospital holding Pamela's hand. The treatment had been grueling, but her doctors were cautiously optimistic. Miss Thompson, a nurse called, poking her head into the room. There's a call for you at the nurse's station. I picked up the phone, and to my surprise, it was Mr. Daniels. Linda, I have some news, he said. We're promoting you to senior financial analyst. Your dedication and financial acumen have been exemplary. I couldn't believe it. Thank you, sir. That's... wow. When I returned to work, the office had changed. James was gone, fired for harassing another coworker. Jennifer had been demoted and kept mostly to herself. Lisa tried to play nice, but most people gave her a wide berth. Tyler greeted me with a warm smile. Hey, senior analyst, a few of us are grabbing lunch later if you'd like to join. I grinned. You know what? I think I will. As I settled into my new role, I found myself forming real friendships. People respected me now, not just for my work ethic, but for my strength. One Friday, as I was packing up, Tyler stopped by my desk. Big plans this weekend. I couldn't help but smile. Actually, yeah, I'm planning a vacation, a real one, with Pamela. She's doing well enough to travel now. That's fantastic. Where to? Thinking Hawaii. Figured I've earned some beach time. For the first time in years, I felt light, free. I had stood my ground, saved my sister, and come out stronger. As I stepped into the warm sunshine outside the office, I knew the best was yet to come. If you were in my position, would you have revealed your personal struggles to your coworkers sooner, or would you have kept it private?